Welcome back, my curious listeners, to the Strange History Podcast, the show where we walk through history's attic, gently open boxes labeled probably a bad idea, and look anyway. Tonight's episode is the kind that makes you sit back and whisper, wait, how is this real? Because tonight, we're talking about William Patrick Hitler, nephew of Adolf Hitler, a man who tried to outrun his last name, who fought against his uncle in World War II, who settled in suburban Long Island, and whose children made a silent vow to end the Hitler bloodline forever. This isn't just history. It's irony, tragedy, reinvention, and one of the strangest identity reversals ever recorded.
A childhood with no warning label.
William Patrick Hitler was born on March 12, 1911, in Liverpool. Yes, the same city where future Beatles would grow up, but decades earlier and with significantly fewer catchy melodies. His father, Alois Hitler Jr., was Adolf's half-brother and a certified trouble magnet. Alois drifted through Europe selling stories, schemes, and occasionally furniture, depending on the decade. He met William's mother, Bridget Dowling, in Dublin, spun elaborate tales about his wealthy Austrian connections, and eloped with her to London. It was romantic until it wasn't. Alois abandoned the family, resurfacing years later in Germany with a new wife and additional children, as if families were collectible toy sets. So William was raised by Bridget alone, Catholic, English, and blissfully unaware that his last name was about to become the most radioactive word in 20th century history.
The worst family reunion in history.
In the early 1930s, William traveled to Germany. Maybe he wanted a connection, maybe an opportunity, maybe just curiosity. What he found was his uncle rising to power, and a country shifting from political chaos to dictatorship with alarming speed. At first, Adolf Hitler treated William civilly, carefully, almost strategically. William received modest jobs, a bank position, a sales role at Opel, a public relations assignment. But William wanted more. Promotions, power, recognition. Adolf, who considered hierarchy sacred, especially when he was at the top, found William's ambition offensive. The tension grew, and then William made a fatal conversational pivot: blackmail. He hinted, or outright stated, that he could reveal embarrassing details about the Hitler family, including rumors of Jewish ancestry. For Adolf, who built an empire on the fantasy of perfect lineage, this was unacceptable. William was told, leave Germany or disappear. Spoiler, he left.
The lecture tour and the FBI.
Once back in the West, William did something astonishing. He began giving public lectures titled essentially, My Uncle is a Monster, Ask Me How I Know. Crowds packed auditoriums. Newspapers printed interviews. The world couldn't resist the surreal spectacle of a Hitler denouncing Hitler. When the U.S. entered World War II, William asked to enlist in the American military. Understandably, the government paused. Somewhere in an office, a nervous clerk probably muttered, "We can't just hand a gun to someone named Hitler, can we?" After intense FBI scrutiny and a recommendation letter from President Franklin D. Roosevelt's office, William was cleared. In 1944, he joined the U.S. Navy as a medical corpsman, fighting against the regime his uncle built. History sometimes writes better plot twists than fiction.
A new name in a new world.
When the war ended, William knew his last name was no longer just inconvenient. It was impossible. So he reinvented himself. He moved to Patchogue, Long Island, bought a modest home, and changed his name to William Patrick Stewart Houston. At first glance, the name sounds dignified, neutral, suburban, perfect for blending in. But, oh, the irony. Because his chosen name carries layers of quiet political meaning. The Stewart part. The House of Stuart was a royal dynasty overthrown for resisting democratic change and clinging to authoritarian power. Symbolically, a failed authoritarian bloodline. A poetic mirror to the collapse of Nazism. The Houston part. Associated with Sam Houston, an American leader who championed resistance to authoritarian control, expansion of democratic rights, populist equality, anti-aristocratic governance. Sam Houston is sometimes cited as part of early American democratic and proto-socialist political identity, the exact opposite of Hitler's ideology. So William didn't just pick a random respectable name, he picked one that aligned with democratic anti-authoritarian values, the ideological antithesis of his uncle. The name wasn't just protection, it was rebellion.
Marriage, suburbia, and a vow.
In 1947, William married Phyllis Jean-Jacques, an American woman with remarkable grace. Because imagine meeting your future in-laws and discovering the name attached to the family tree. Together, they raised 4 sons, Alexander, Louis, Howard, who died in a car accident in 1989, Brian. Neighbors remembered a quiet household. No large gatherings, no loose talk. The boys lived under one unspoken rule: we do not carry this name forward. At some point, likely in adulthood, the 3 surviving brothers made a pact. None of us will have children. The bloodline ends here, and they kept it. Today, there are no confirmed biological descendants of Adolf Hitler's direct living family.
The final years.
William lived the rest of his life quietly as a medical laboratory owner, Navy veteran, husband, and father. He never again spoke publicly about his uncle. He died in Patchogue on July 14, 1987, under the name Stuart Houston, not Hitler. His obituary made no mention of Nazism, and maybe that silence was the final act of resistance.
Tonight's episode is brought to you by Rename Me, the world's #1 identity rebranding service. Got a last name that triggers people? Does your ancestry make family reunions feel like international war tribunals? Do strangers react to your driver's license like you just confessed to sinking the Titanic and inventing decaf coffee? With Rename Me, you can transform your uncomfortable, reputation-destroying surname into something neutral, respectable, and dentist-approved, like Stuart Houston, Featherstone, or totally not related to a historical monster burg. Sign up today and use promo code Not That One to receive 1 free monogrammed hand towel, featuring your new, far less threatening initials. Rename Me, because sometimes the line between family legacy and lifelong social curse is just paperwork.
In the end, William Patrick Stuart Houston's life wasn't about escaping a name. It was about dismantling what it represented. Where his uncle believed in bloodline destiny, William believed in choice. Where one enforced authoritarian rule, the other fought for democracy. Where one created terror, the other created a vow to prevent it from continuing. Sometimes the most powerful act in history isn't conquest, it's refusal. Thank you for listening, and as always, stay curious and stay strange.